Welcome back then guys to this live stream. It is now time for the feature race for IFMC GP2 here at Donington Park here in the United Kingdom. And if you didn't see what happened in qualifying yesterday, a very good qualifying session, very close between the top three, but in the end Felix Rosenquist just scraped pole position by only a few hundredths of a second to take his third consecutive feature race pole position. The teammate George Russell and Pierre who made up the top three. But can Felix this time convert it into a victory? The last two times he's been on pole, he's failed to do so for two different reasons. One due to not having better race pace in Bahrain, and the other one in Spain for going off at turn 3 and beaching the car. So he's hoping not to do that this time around. But as you can see, we've got 46 laps of action here for this feature race here at Donington Park, and hopefully it will be a good race as well. So before we start then, let's mute this, turn this up a little, and let's have a look at the grid for the feature race here at Donington. Here we go then. So on pole position it's Felix Rosenquist with George Russell in second. Pierre lines up in third with former teammate Lynn in fourth. Nyck de Vries starts fifth, alongside him Lando Norris in sixth. Stroll will start 7th with Jolyon, who got his Lightbase racing development car in an impressive 8th. Sergey Sirotkin starts 9th, alongside him Jolyon in 10th position, the son of the man who owns this track. Ghiotto is in 11th, alongside him Luca Ghiotto in 12th. Nobuharu Matsushita starts 13th with Mitch in 14th. Mick Schumacher starts 15th with Luca in 16th. Santiago Urishia is in 17th with Sacha Fenestraz in 18th. Louis Razia starts 19th with Dan Tickton in 20th. And on the back row of the grid, it's Norman Nato after a tricky qualifying session and Yuri Vips. And that is the grid for the feature race here at Donington. So there then is the grid for the feature race here at Donington. So the weather, it is of course bright and sunny, so leave your predictions, but without further ado, let's get to the feature race. So, here we are then on the grid. It's Rosenquist on the left, Russell on the right. Who's going to get the leader to turn 1 as we wait for the 5 red lights to go off to signify the start of the feature race here at Donington Park. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And we are underway for the feature race here at Donington Park. A good start from Rosenquist. He gets away from Russell quite well. Gasly's had a good start. He gets a jump on Russell. Can he try and get Rosenquist into the first corner? He tried to break that a little bit later than the Swede, and he takes it. Gasly leads the feature race here at Donington. Rosenquist has not had a good start. Russell now all over the backside. Lynn trying to attack if he can. Has everybody got through the first corner safely? I do believe so. Everybody's got through okay. No sorts of carnage, but it's Gasly with a bit of a gap now in front of the rest of the pack, with Rosenquist holding off a train, it appears, for this battle for second place. Russell, the championship leader, all over the backside, as is Lynn, as they go up towards McLean's now for the first time today, as Rosenquist goes very defensive through towards the first part of it now then, and up towards the right-hander, as Gasly continues to lead the way, and in front with quite a big gap. Russell now, will he try and move down into Coppice corner? Is he going to try and have a look? He goes down to dive it down the inside into Coppice, but Rosenquist shutting the door, and now it brings Lynn into attack mode now then, as they go up towards the chicane. Down at the back straight we go now then towards the chicane. Will Lynn try and have an opportunity if he can on George Russell? He tucks into his slipstream now then. Russell trying to get Rosenquist if he can. Tries to go defensive, looks to the inside, but Russell now then tries to dive it down the inside of Rosenquist, and there's just enough space down the inside into the chicane. Was there contact between Rosenquist and Russell? Rosenquist has gone off at the chicane. Lots of carnage down at the chicane. Was there contact between the two teammates? Let's have a look as we go down towards the chicane now then. Going down towards it, and oh yes, there was there. Russell looked like he outbroke himself there, and Rosenquist just had nowhere to go. That's going to have to be investigated for sure. It now punts Rosenquist down to 6th in the clutches of fellow compatriot Joel Eriksson, and everybody just trying to avoid any carnage down into that chicane there, as Urishi's gone for a spin now down at the chicane. What's happened to him? Has he got involved in some form of carnage as well? Run above him and he clips Razia. Urishi clips Razia there. Did Razia move on the braking perhaps? Did Razia in the Willows Grand Prix car perhaps moved on the braking? We'll have a look from the rear of his car to see if we can find out what on earth happened there, but lots of stuff kicking off at the chicane there then. So let's see how we look. He goes defensive and it just looks like that Urishia just misjudged his braking there then. That's also going to have to be investigated for sure. So 2 incidents on the first lap being investigated at the chicane going into the Grand Prix section. A lot of carnage there. The GP2 guys clearly struggling to keep it tidy into that part of the corner now then. And, well, that's that. Urishia able to get the car going, but it is Gasly who leads the race from Russell in second place now then. As we've got a yellow flag, well, we've got a yellow down the hairpin, and Palmer's now got involved in some carnage as well, and it looks like Ghiotto's been involved as well. Let's have a look. Going into the hairpin now then, and, oh, Palmer got clipped, I think. Palmer got clipped, a lot of things gone off. Sirotkin was on the outside there. Did Sirotkin clip him perhaps in the EMR, or did somebody else clip him which caused him to hit the side? Let's have a look as we go into the hairpin now then. Palmer's coming up towards the inside, and, I think already at this point, Palmer has already been hit from behind, and Ghiotto's gone off as well, so let's see if he had anything to do with it. And Stroll has also gone off at the hairpin, so quite a lot of carnage in this race to start off with then. And, well, what can you say about that then, really? Everybody getting involved in some form of traffic jam. Where was Ghiotto in all of this? Going into the corner, and he just clips the back of Palmer and Ghiotto, and then he gets tipped around by Stroll after he misjudged the braking there, and Stroll was just basically a passenger at that point. So 3 incidents to be investigated on the first lap then. Lots and lots of carnage happening on the first lap here at Donington Park, and well, that's pretty much that then, really. So a lot of investigations done. Everybody's now become unconjoint, so but still a very chaotic start. But at the end of lap 1 then, a 46 here at Donington Park. It's Gasly with a big lead now, leading the race and setting an early fastest lap with George Russell in second, Alex Lynn third, Lando Norris fourth, Vries fifth, Rosenqvist sixth, Ericsson seventh, and Sirotkin rounding out the top 8 at the moment, as everybody now trying to calm themselves down now then after what has happened. Ghiotto now being bumped down to the back of the pack as a result, as now Gasly again with a very commanding lead at the front as he goes up towards McLean's now then for the first time, as he goes through the left and right hander now then. So that's that then, really, as they'll now go up towards Coppice corner. As meantime, Russell in second place, probably make a bit of a gap now from Lynn as Norris tries to close in if he can, but it looks like Vries is now going to give him a little bit of a hard time as they go through Coppice corner now. Then will Vries try and have a lunge perhaps at Lando Norris if he can, as he gets into the slipstream of the Brit now, then heading down the back straight towards the chicane now. Then will Vries get the move done now? Then he tucks up as Lynn goes quite defensive. Sorry, Norris goes quite defensive. Vries flicking it back down the inside. Will he get the move done? And he can. A brilliant move. I wonder if that's what Russell was trying to do on Rosenqvist a little earlier. But Vries gets the move cleanly done, and he's up into 4th place there. Brilliant pass from him. And now Rosenqvist, can he try and get him into the Melbourne hairpin? Norris goes very defensive into that corner. Rightfully so, keeping all of that place for the time being now then. And, well, a lot of battles going on at this stage now then. Lynn with a bit of a gap now in that battle for 4th place. Rosenqvist now trying to find a way through on Lando Norris if he can as he goes around the final corner. Gasly now setting another fastest lap in the Ecademy there with a 1 minute 19.5. I believe that's said as they go down the pit straight now then towards turn 1. And Gasly looking for redemption after being robbed of a victory in the feature race last weekend in Spain after sustaining a loose wheel. And, well, 2 men are virtually getting cost the victory for 2 different reasons. Rosenqvist binning it and beating it down at turn 3 last weekend, and then Gasly with a loose wheel costing those 2 any chance of a victory in the feature race in Spain. But Gasly looking for redemption, and so far he's doing a grand job pulling away from the rest of the pack, and looks like he's going to try and dominate this race so far now then, as he just comes out of Coppice now then, and now through the right hander we go now then. Ghiotto in 10th at the moment, and you can see how much all that carnage happened at the chicane has caused. Look how much of a gap everybody has. Palmer now at the back of the pack, it appears now then, so he's dropped a few more places, it appears, as Ghiotto now then all over the backside of Yuri Vips as they go through the right hander now then, using a lot of curb there on the outside as they go up towards Coppice corner, and a lock up there from Yuri Vips, and will Ghiotto take full advantage of that now then as they go through Coppice, heading up towards the chicane now then for the third time today. And I would expect the mandatory pit stops, as I've gone through the wrong cameras there. Right on board with Ghiotto, would he try and get the move done on Yuri Vips, and he now tries to dive it down the inside into the chicane. Will Ghiotto get the move done into that chicane? Vips virtually leaving him no space. Bit of contact between the pair of them. Luckily, he didn't push Vips off, and luckily he didn't gain anything from Vips there as a result. Let him go. But, well, that's brought Palmer now then into that scrap as a result. And, well, that's pretty much that in the rear. Now Palmer flicking it down the inside, diving it down the inside into the Melbourne hairpin. And he gets the move done on Ghiotto. And up into 21st goes Jolyon Park. So a lot of overtakes being done at this racetrack today as they go through the old hairpin. Ghiotto still leading the race at this stage now. Then Rosenqvist still stuck behind Lando Norris like super glue at this stage. And, well, that's that really now then as I go up towards under the bridge towards McLean's, and now you can see how much Norris is going very defensive towards McLean's there. Then Rosenqvist doing whatever he can to get the move done as they go through the right-hander. They're continuously losing time to De Vries in front at the moment as Rosenqvist now then looking to try and attack Norris if he can. Norris defending the inside through Coppi's corner there then. Will Rosenqvist find a way through this time around, heading down towards the chicane out of the corner now then, using a lot of curb in the slipstream now then off the Brit. He tucks up in Lando's slipstream now then. Will he get the move done? He tucks up into the slipstream. He looks to the inside. Will Rosenqvist get the move done? Norris tried to shut the door, but there's already too much of a gap down the inside into the chicane. And Rosenqvist gets the move done, and up into 5th place goes the Swede. So Rosenqvist gains a place, and now Ericsson looking to try and take advantage down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Will Ericsson get the move done on Lando Norris? No, Norris shutting the door into that corner. Now Stroll has caught up to that battle as well after what had happened to him on the first lap there then. As we're now on lap 5 and 46 here at Donington Park. Gasly still leading the way at the moment with Russell, the championship leader, in 2nd place now then, as Lynn is currently 3rd, De Vries 4th, Rosenqvist 5th, Norris 6th, Ericsson 7th, and Sirotkin rounding out the top 8 at the moment in this race as they just went through the Melbourne hairpin. As Razia all over the backside of Schumacher at the moment in this race, as Lyle finds himself down at the back of the pack now then as a result of Palmer diving it down the inside, and so far Vip's still keeping hold of the pair of them at this stage of the race now then. Gasly up the hill he goes now then. Through towards McLean's and looking to see if he can get his first victory since Season 2 when he was back at Willows Grand Prix. And of course Season 3 was a bit of a tough season for the Frenchman, but it looks like this season he's found his form again. And but obviously the first 2 races haven't gone according to plan due to several reasons, but Gasly looking strong at the front of the moment. Russell nowhere near him at this stage. Russell struggling to keep hold of him at the moment in this race, as there is Lynn in the Macamo car. Rosenqvist trying everything he can to close up onto De Vries. Ericsson now starting to drop back now from Lando Norris, as Sirotkin is now starting to close him in at the moment. And Stroll looking to try and close up if he can in the GRM as they now approach the chicane. And just flicking the car in. And Stroll currently in 9th place at this stage. Excuse me. As now we look at Pierre Gasly comes out of the final corner. And to start another lap. Now then, lap 6 of 46 here at Donington Park. And as mentioned, I would expect the mandatory pit stop to come around about lap number 22 to lap 28. We'll probably see them come about, perhaps, or to lap 30. We'll see. As Gasly's got a 4.4 second lead in front of George Russell at the moment in this race. Meantime, Stroll now then getting up close now to the back of Sirotkin for that final points place at the moment, as everybody seems to be separated apart from the back of the pack at the moment. So now heading down the hill goes Lance Stroll now then as they go through the left hander now then as they go through towards the old hairpin, and now heading up towards McLean's now then, and so up towards the left and right hander he will go. As now up towards Coppice we will go. And through the double right hander, Stroll now then trying to get a run on Sirotkin if he can as they go down the back straight towards the chicane. Will Stroll try and go for a run if he can? But he doesn't look like Stroll that time around is close enough to make a pass on him at this stage. Here is Rosenqvist, who's now starting to pull a bit of a gap from Norris, and he's now starting to close in now on 4th place man Nyck De Vries. And at the same time he's trying to close in on Lynn, who's currently occupying the podium at the moment in this race as they just go around the Melbourne hairpin. And so that's going up now then towards the final corner. And so now Rosenqvist currently 5th at this stage. Stroll still stuck behind Sirotkin at the moment in this race. Still hasn't been able to get a run on him there to potentially get him either in towards Coppice or even at the chicane or maybe even the Melbourne hairpin as they go down straight. What's the gap between him and Sirotkin now then as well on lap 7 of 46 here at Donington. 40 laps remaining then in this feature race. Through turn 1 we go, and the gap is now 0.5 seconds, a half a second is the gap between Stroll and Sirotkin at this stage as they head down the hill towards the left-hander. The two Williams teammates in real life duking it out for that final points place at this stage. As now we just go through the right-hander now then up towards the chicane we will go. And Stroll now then just getting the car flicked in there then as he will now approach the right-hander. So that's that for him really. As the meantime, here's Pierre Gasly flicking the car in the chicane, and he will now approach the second to last corner on the track. Now then, as Gasly continues to lead the race out in front at the moment in the Ecademy car, and so far producing some magic at the front at the moment, but whether he'll be able to keep all of that for the remaining race, we'll see. There's still a load of laps to go. Anything could still happen at this point, as now Gasly just flicks it through the final corner. And Rosenqvist, there he is, just going out of the Melbourne hairpin now then, and he will now approach the final corner on the track as he tries everything to reel in Nyck de Vries in front of him at this stage in this feature race, and still not close enough at this stage. As meantime, Stroll still trying everything he can to just reel in close to the back of Sergey Sirotkin. And so far, nothing seems to be working for him at this stage as they now pile down towards turn 1 on the track now then. Out of turn 1 we go, heading down the hill towards the left-hander. And through the crane, so through those right-handers, through the crane of curves. And now into the old hairpin we will go. And Stroll pushing hard as possible to get that final points place of Sirotkin, but Sirotkin still keeping him honest at this stage. Everybody in the top 8 looks to have separated themselves out. Not really much major battling happening down there. What's going on down in the field at the moment, and it seems that things have calmed down a bit down here as well since what happened to them on the first lap, as now they go through the crane of curves through towards the right-hander we will go. Vips currently in 20th at the moment, trying to reel off Palmer and Galau at the moment, who are occupying the back of the field at this stage. As here is George Russell, who's just going around the right-hander now then on the track. Here comes Lance Stroll in towards the chicane. Look how much tyre smoke there's been during this race now then, as Stroll hops over the curb through there to get onto the Grand Prix track and then approach the second to last corner, which is the Melbourne hairpin. So through he will go, and it looked like Stroll went later on the brakes there compared to what Sergey Sirotkin was doing into that corner. There's a lot of curb being used on the outside towards the final corner. Then we go, and Stroll doing whatever he can to get the place off Sirotkin, and try to get to the best traction at the corner, but now again he doesn't look like he's close enough to get the move done at this point, as now they just go through the right-hander on the track, heading out of the first corner now, then heading down the hill towards the left-hander on the track. And so now we go around the right now then as they go out of the corner, using a lot of curb on the outside there we just saw, up towards McLean's. And Stroll getting closer and closer now to the backside of Sirotkin, and even getting closer into the braking points there, trying to see if he could possibly try and get a run on him up towards through Coppice, and then try and get a run on him onto the back straight towards the chicane. He's closer than he has been before, I would think, coming out the corner, using a lot of curve on the outside. Stroll now then in the slipstream of Sergey Sirotkin. Will he get the move done? He tucks up into his slipstream now then, and he's going to look to the inside. Will he get the move done? Sirotkin not willing to defend at this point. Side by side they go into the chicane. Will Stroll get the move done? And he does. Up into 8th place goes Lance Stroll. Takes the points place off Sergey Sirotkin. And now Stroll finds himself into the points. And now Sirotkin could come under pressure from teammate Luca Ghiotto if he's not careful, as they just go around the final corner now then onto the pit straight. And now heading down towards turn 1 on the track now then, as the top crew appear to have broke away now from the rest of the pack as they head down through the crane of curves and then in towards the old hairpin. And it seems that Russell just hasn't got the pace to match Gasly at this stage of the race as they go up through McLean's. And then through towards the right-hander we will go. And a lot of curb being used on the exit towards Coppice. And so now through the double right we will go. And then he will go up towards the chicane. And so Russell now then, currently in second place, currently behind Pierre Gasly at the moment. Gasly currently leading a race at this stage as he will now approach the right-hander on the track. And so out of the Melbourne hairpin will go Pierre Gasly. He will now approach the final corner as Rosenqvist behind. Russell keeping occupied down in second place at the moment as his nearest rivals look like they're going to be losing some more time to him in the Drivers' Championship, and as a result could find themselves let's not forget Russell could find himself with quite a bit of a decent gap between himself and well, I would think probably Felix Rosenquist probably, or maybe even Lando Norris, probably both of them at the moment. So that's that really. Rosenquist trying still everything he can to close up onto Nyck de Vries, but so far the Swede just struggling to get onto the backside of the Dutchman at this stage as they go through the old hairpin, using quite a bit of curb on the outside. Up the hill we go, and Rosenquist now then through McLean's. And I'll be interested to see what the gap is like between the pair of them anyway as we go up the hill towards Coppice. At the moment, Lynn finding himself in third place at the moment as now through towards the double right-hander at Coppice we go. And now towards the chicane. And Rosenquist still not getting close to the back of de Vries at this stage as Gasly goes through the Melbourne hairpin. A lot of curb being used on the outside. We're still not quite close to the pit barrier yet. We are now about to start lap 12 of 46 here at Donington. So we now have specifically, I believe, 35 laps remaining in the race as Russell now sets the fastest lap at 1:19.492. So he's starting to get the hammer down. It was 4.4 last time, down to 4.3. So only Russell takes a tenth out of Gasly's lead that time around, as it's a 7.7 second. As it's a 7.7 second gap between between Russell and Lynn at the moment as they go up the hill towards McLean's. Sorry about that, as Russell now then flicking the car in through the double right-hander at Coppice, and so far trying everything he can to try and close in onto Gasly in front if he can. So Rosenquist now then through the double right he will go, still trying everything he can to catch up to de Vries as de Vries in front is trying to catch up to Lynn. Looks like the gap is pretty much the same between where de Vries is. He's probably in front and behind. It's the same gap as out goes Nobuharu Matsushita. What's happened to Nobuharu Matsushita, the star of the sprint race last weekend? And there he is. It is a suspension failure for the Japanese driver. Nobuharu Matsushita is out of the race, and we're down to 21 runners here in this feature race at Donington. So Matsushita pulls off with suspension failure and pretty much wrecking the rest of his weekend as a result. Through the chicane then, hopping over the curbs goes Felix Rosenquist in the Red Bull Ecademy as they now go up towards the second to last corner, and Rosenquist now then through he goes then through the second to last corner and out of the corner then towards the final corner on the track. Lynn currently in third at this stage in the Macamo car, and doing whatever he can to close up onto Russell. Did Russell set another fast lap there? Well, it's now down to 4 seconds, so Russell is taking 3/10 there to Gasly. See, so I would presume that said Russell set another fastest lap as they go down through the crane of curves. And Russell trying to get his foot down to try and close back in onto the Frenchman if he can, as they go up through McLaren's now then. And looks like the Red Bull Academy versus Academy battle from the days of when they were when the top class was around. Etihad versus Red Bull Audi look to come back into this race. It appears as now Russell trying to get the hammer down to get the Academy in front of him at this stage as they now approach the chicane. There's Gasly right there, and there is Russell. That's how much there is between the top two at this stage of the race as Russell now approaches the chicane through the left and right-hander he will go as he uses a bit of curb there on the outside towards the Melbourne hairpin now then. Through the right-hander he will go. And so now, at the moment now then, Russell doing everything he can to close in onto the Frenchman in front of him at this stage. I'll be interested to see what the gap is like next time around as he start lap 14 of 46 here at Donington. Out the final corner and onto the pit straight we will go. And the gap between the top two is now, let's have a look as they go into turn one now down the track. It is 4.2 seconds. So Gasly's up the pace now, has increased the gap by another 0.2 of a second. So Gasly has responded as a result and has now pulled a bit away now from championship leader George Russell. As here is Felix Rosenquist through towards turn one he will go as he tries to close in on Nyck de Vries at the moment for fourth place, but at the moment de Vries keeping him on at the moment, and the gap still quite large between the Dutchman and the Swede at the moment. Rosenquist hasn't got a response to Nyck de Vries' pace in the GOM Junior at this stage as Rosenquist goes up the hill towards McLaren's, and de Vries currently lying in fourth place at the moment as they go up through McLaren's for the left and right hander we will go, and off the curb now then we go as they will go up towards Coppice Corner. So that's that really. So through the double right hander we will go, and now Rosenquist will approach the chicane, and let's see what Felix is able to do now then. And again still quite a bit behind now on Nyck de Vries at this stage as he uses a lot of curb through into those corners there then to get the best possible line. Stroll now then, it looks like he's maybe starting to close up a bit now onto Joel Eriksson in front as Eriksson looks to try and get Lopez Racing Development's first points of the season, and so far doing a solid job after a brilliant qualifying session from the young Swede. Stroll now then just goes around the right hander, and Eriksson, his next target if he's going to try and battle, is a man he's had a rivalry with in the past, I think in the Formula 3 days in real life, and that is Lando Norris. So Eriksson looking to see if he can rekindle some memories with Lando Norris if he can, as they go up towards the first corner on the track, and Eriksson flicking the car in as he uses quite a bit of curb on the outside there then as he heads down the hill. As meantime, Gasly still leading the way at this stage, and we're about 7 laps away from the mandatory pit stops getting underway here. We're 2 minutes away from the 1:30 mark, so just over an hour away until the race 1 of IFMC GP3. As in towards the chicane then will go Gasly as he flicks the car in through these corners, and now up towards the Melbourne hairpin will go Pierre, and so now in towards the right hander he will go. And sorry for the drop of frames, just a little bit of frames there, that part. We just lost just quite a bit there. As now up towards the final corner they will go. We'll see what the gap is like between Russell and Gasly this time around as they go up towards the final corner. Goes Russell, and let's see now as they head down the pit straight and across the line they will go. What is the gap between Gasly and Russell as they head down towards turn 1 on the track, and the gap between the top two is 4.2 seconds, so both lapping around about the same pace from the last time we checked, and a few more frames will drop there, I do apologise. And now through the left hander we will go as second place is currently George Russell at this stage as we head up towards McLaren's, as here is Felix Rosenquist. And now through the left hander we'll go, and out goes Dan Ticktum. Ticktum is out of the race. What's happened to Ticktum? Whereabouts was he on the track? And where is he? And there he is. It is a transmission problem for Dan Ticktum in the RSPCA racing car. Ticktum out of the race, and we're down to 20 runners as a result. So Ticktum has called it a day in front of his fans, and Ticktum out, and we're down to 20 runners as a result. Meantime, here's this battle for fourth between De Vries and Rosenqvist. Looks like Rosenqvist is closing in quite a bit now onto the Dutchman, trying to break as late as possible between himself and Nyck as they just go out of the second part of McLean's there to go up in towards Coppice. As they now flip the car in. Rosenqvist doing whatever he can to get a hold of De Vries as this battle for fourth starts to close in. As now we look at Pierre Gasly, who will now approach the final corner. And has Russell closed in a bit, or has the gap remained the same, as Gasly will be starting lap 17 of 46 in this feature race quite soon, as they just go out of the final corner. Onto the pit straight we go, and the gap between them, let's have a look, as they go up towards turn 1 is now, through turn 1 we go, 4.2 seconds. So again, as mentioned, both George and Pierre lapping around about the same pace as each other. As Rosenqvist and De Vries, what's the gap between the battle for 4th and 5th in this race now then, as I go up towards turn 1 on the track, and let's see, through turn 1, and the gap is 1.2 seconds, so that's how it looks between the GRM and the Red Bull Academy driver at this stage, as 6th place man Norris continuing to drop back a tad now then from that battle, as Lynn starts to pull away a bit more from De Vries as a result, as he looks to try and get onto the podium if he can in the Macamo car. As now through the left hand there we go, and then through the right, flicking it in, as a lot of curb now then being used on the outside there then, as we go up towards Coppice corner, the double right hander. Rosenqvist again not close enough to make a pass that time around, as unseen by the cameras. Evans has got up to 10th, passing Ghiotto, so up to P10 goes Evans as he tries to hunt down Sergey Sirotkin if he can. So that's that really. As meantime, Ghiotto has got himself all over the backside of Palmer again. These two are continuing to scrap it out for second to last in this race now then, as Vips in front of them has got away from them at this stage now then, as they go through the right-hander, as Russell now sets the fastest lap again, a 1 minute 19.140. Wouldn't be surprised if he's cut a little bit of time between himself and Gasly, and he has by 2 tenths. It's now 4 seconds between Gasly and Russell now. They meet time. Speaking of, here is Ghiotto now then, as he heads down the straight. Will he try and get all the Palmer into the chicane now then? Is Ghiotto close enough to make a pass? It doesn't look like he's close enough, as Palmer goes defensive into that chicane there then, and again goes defensive. And I think Ghiotto thought about having a look, but it didn't quite work out, and now he's been backed up as a result by Palmer. So that's that really. Will Ghiotto try and dive it down the inside into the Melbourne hairpin perhaps? Palmer defends the inside there, and rightfully so keeps hold of the place, unable to do so at the moment here at Donington. As Russell and Gasly there went through Coppice there. Then here is Felix Rosenquist in 5th place, still trying to get hold of Nyck De Vries at the moment in this race, as they just go out of McLean's. And I think we're just about a couple of laps away from the pit stops, so we'll wait and see on that now then. Some people running about 5 litres in the car, others running at quite a bit more, just like De Vries in front compared to Rosenqvist. Rosenqvist running about 2 litres less than what De Vries is running in that GRM at the moment, as they just hip hop over the curbs. And so that's that then at this stage. Rosenqvist trying to reel in De Vries as much as possible, as now in towards the Melbourne hairpin we will go. And Gasly now then setting the fastest lap, 1 minute 19.107. So Gasly now setting the fastest lap of the race now then, but it's still 4 seconds between them, so both again lapping around about the same pace. Gasly maintaining that gap between himself and George Russell at the moment, and still having quite a comfortable gap in front of the race at this stage, as he just goes up towards the left and right hander now then. So Gasly flicking it in through McLean's, and so now going over the curb before heading in towards Coppice, as he continues to lead the way at this stage now then in the Ecademy car. as he will now approach the chicane. There's Dan Ticktum's car from the sidelines after he retired with transmission problems just a couple of laps ago. As meantime, Rosenqvist still unable to reel in onto the backside of Nyck de Vries at the moment in the GLM, trying everything he can, but de Vries just seems to respond at the moment. It looks like maybe Rosenqvist is waiting about for the mandatory pit stop to see if he can try and get the jump on the Dutchman if he can as they go up towards the chicane. But we'll wait and see on that as they now go up towards the quick left-right chicane on the track. So through he will go as they will now approach the now he will approach the Melbourne hairpin on the track as another fastest lap from Pierre Gasly, a 1 minute 19 exactly now from the Frenchman. So now he's starting to really push very hard on the track as the gap is now up to 4.3 seconds. So Gasly increases the gap by 0.3 of a second. So Gasly starting to respond, maybe because he's got a bit of fuel. He's able to push and burn a little bit of fuel in the tank before he makes his first mandatory pit stop in around 1 or 2 laps time. So we will wait and see on that as he just flicks the car in through the second part of McLean's before going in towards Coppice. So through he will go now then through the double right-hander. And so that's that really. As it looks like Rosenqvist has now lost some time to de Vries. Looks like de Vries is starting to respond, and it looks like de Vries is starting to reel in again onto Alex Lynn. So we could have a battle for third on our hands between Lynn and de Vries as they both go up towards Coppice Corner now then. So we could have a battle on our hands between those two at this stage as de Vries just flicks that in using a lot of curb on the outside there then, as he will now approach the quick left-right chicane on the track. And so flicking it in now then, through he will go. And so now doing whatever he can to get hold of Lynn in this race. As meantime, what is the gap between these two now then, as we're on lap 21, and Russell is pitting at the end of this lap. He sets the fastest lap now of 1 minute 18.983, and he's caught the gap back down to 4 seconds, so he's taking those 3/10 off again. So on lap 21, looks like Gasly's going to stay out for another lap, but Russell is pitting at the end of this lap for his mandatory pit stop. And I wonder if he'll be the first, because it doesn't seem that anybody's pitting on the previous lap, lap 20, for people who are yet to start lap 21 yet in this race. As now we go through McLean's now then, and Russell hoping this pit stop works out so he can get himself a tad bit closer to Pierre and maybe challenge him for the victory here at Donington. As now through the double right-hander we will go in towards the chicane, and Russell at the moment trying everything he can to pile the pressure on Pierre Gasly at this stage now then, as he will approach the quick left-right chicane again, and using quite a bit of curb on the outside before approaching the Melbourne hairpin. There is Gasly just going through into that corner, as now Russell slows it all down into that corner, as now we'll see him flick into the pits this lap now then, and flick it he will go. So into the pits comes George Russell from second place. The championship leader is in as he just goes around the hairpin as his mechanics wait for him. Gasly now setting the fastest lap of 1 minute 18.961. So now he's started to respond to Russell, maybe starting to respond to the fact that he's pitted, and I wonder if he'll cover him off on this lap. I think it more likely will be, judging from his fuel on a previous lap. So he's now going to put on a quick fresh set of tyres and fuel. He's now fueled to the end of the race, of course, because there's only one mandatory pit stop that's compulsory in this race. An 11.4 second stop for George Russell. Let's see where it's going to put the young Brit out as he goes trundling down pit lane, and he flicks off the pit limiter, and Russell rejoins in 7th place, just in front of Lance Stroll, who is trying to catch up to Ericsson. So that's not exactly where Russell wanted to come out, because he's now come out in a bit of traffic in the form of Joel Ericsson in front, and Russell will have to pass him on track if he wants to push hard. Mick Schumacher into the pits for Ecademy, so he's making his scheduled stop of the afternoon now then, and let's see where Schumacher is going to rejoin now then, as he finishes off his pit stop in the Ecademy car, and he just gets out of his box now then, trundles down pit lane, and where is Schumacher going to rejoin now then, as he'll flick off the pit limiter, and Schumacher rejoins in 20th and last, just behind battling, I was going to say battling Ghiotto and Palmer, but Palmer has now pulled a gap now to Ghiotto. Ghiotto now starting to lose time, so now Schumacher comes out right behind Ghiotto as a result. Gasly has chosen to stay out, but now this lap, he's going to be pitting this lap. He's obviously burned a bit more fuel if he can. He felt he could have gone a little bit more, and that's what he's done. He's now going to be pitting at the end of this lap for his scheduled mandatory pit stop for tyres and fuel. Felix Rosenquist is into the pits as he will try and hope to leapfrog De Vries if he can, as the Red Bull Academy mechanics get ready to serve him now then, as he put on a fresh set of tyres and fuel. And let's see where Rosenquist is going to come out then after this stop. And so let's see now then, as out on track he goes now then. And Evans has finished off his pit stop, and let's see where he's going to rejoin. And Fenestraz rejoins in Fenestraz is in, no, Nato's in front of him. Rosenquist rejoined in 12th, so he's come out behind Lando Norris' teammate Norman Nato, and he's trying to make his way up for the field after a disappointing qualifying session. Evans has finished his pit stop. Yuri Vips is in for RSPCA Racing, and so he's making his scheduled stop of the afternoon. So also in the pits was Sasha Fenestraz, I believe that came in, and it was Sasha Fenestraz, as Urishia also came in as well. Remember, there are 3 investigations, one between Russell and Rosenquist, another between Urishia and Razia, and another one between Palmer and Ghiotto, and Stroll as well. So that's that really. It's Ghiotto now then will come up towards the right-hander. Sorry, that's Fenestraz we were looking at. Ghiotto just came into the pits and rejoins in last. As now into the pits, while finishing his pit stop, is Pierre Gasly. He's finished off his stop. Lynn temporarily leads the race. Where is Russell on the track? Russell is nowhere to be seen. In fact, I think that was him down the pit straight. Yeah, so it seems that Russell's lost a lot of time in the pits. Clearly the traffic didn't help. Gasly rejoins in second, just in front of Norris, who is yet to stop. And for the moment, Lynn temporarily leads this race, but in the Macamo car, but he will be pitting at the end of this lap as he just goes up through McLean's. Joel Eriksson into the pits for his scheduled stop in the Lopez Racing Tournament car, as is Luca Ghiotto. So those two into the pits. Where is Joel Eriksson going to come out of? And he rejoins in 9th place at this stage. Where is Ghiotto and Yoa going to come out in respect of Mitch Evans? Evans gets out in front of them, so Ghiotto is going to rejoin in 11th, just in front of Palmer, who's yet to make a stop, and Yoa 13th. Nato is going to rejoin in 14th place. As then down pit straight goes Schumacher as he goes through turn 1, as does Fenestraz. Razzie rejoins 17th, just behind them there then, so that's that for him. As we'll see Lynn now come into the pits, which he does now then. So into the pits comes Alex Lynn for the temporary lead of the race. It will give Pierre Gasly the lead back in this race. And where is Lynn going to rejoin after this pit stop? And as it looks like the Lightbase Sony Racing Mechanics, I believe that is ready for one of their drivers. I would presume it is Lando Norris that's getting ready for a stop. And that does look like Norris in the background there at the mirror. So where is Alex Lynn going to rejoin, as he's looking on course for a podium? Or will the likes of De Vries leapfrog him, and maybe even Rosenquist? Let's see. As he goes trundling down pit lane, where is De Vries? De Vries is, I can't quite find him at the moment. De Vries is coming down pit straight now, and Lynn has just been able to stay in front of De Vries at this stage, as Rosenquist is in 5th. Norris rejoins in 6th again, so no gains there for him, as Ericsson looks like he's going to grab 7th again from Lance Stroll. Stroll's going to rejoin in 8th place. Sirotkin slotting behind in 9th in front of Evans, so no changes, major changes at the moment. Palmer in for his scheduled mandatory stop. And where is he going to be joining after the pit stop? As he gets a wipe on the visor and a change of tyres. And where is Palmer going to be joining after the pit stop? And it is a 10.5 second stop from the Willows Grand Prix mechanics, as Sirotkin pitted a little earlier, just to confirm. Palmer also came in as well. And where's Jolyon going to be joining after this stop? And Ghiotto already made a pit stop, I think, a little earlier on. And of course Palmer staying in front by miles, of course, because he pulled a bit of a gap before the pit stop anyway. Ghiotto losing a heap of time as a result, as here is Pierre Gasly heading down towards turn 1 with quite a bit of a gap now between himself and George Russell. I'll be interested to see now what the gap is like, as we're now on lap 26 of 46 here at Donington. So we have 21 laps remaining in this feature race here at Donington. and it is up to 8.3 seconds. So that's how much time Russell lost in the pits. He lost around 4 seconds on his outlap to Pierre Gasly. On the 2 laps that Gasly stayed out, Russell lost 4 seconds worth, and now finds himself 8.3 behind the leader, and looks like he's now out of reach of taking victory here today, as he just goes through the right hander, and out goes Nyck de Vries. What's happened to Nyck de Vries? De Vries is out, and there it is. It is a transmission problem for de Vries. It will lift Rosenqvist up to 4th, but as a result, de Vries is out of the race, and we're down to 19 runners as a result. De Vries out of it, and it puts Sirotkin now back in the points in the East Midlands racing car, and that's de Vries' day done with, thanks to transmission problems. De Vries out, and we're down to 19 runners. He'll be starting 20th for the sprint race tomorrow, as now Russell now then coming up towards the chicane. So Lynn now has a big gap between himself and Rosenqvist. Look at Norris now starting to reel in onto Felix Rosenquist. These two fighting it out for second place at the moment in the Drivers' Championship, as it looks like that Russell's going to pull away a bit more in the Drivers' Championship towards these two. And Gasly should shoot himself into the championship fight as well, I would think. Probably still be a long way behind, but still, it would confirm him as possibly a championship contender if he's able to keep up this pace he's been showing over the last few races. As now, Norris goes up towards the Melbourne Hairpin, trying everything he can to reel in onto Felix Rosenquist now then, as they go through the Melbourne Hairpin. And now up towards the final corner then we will go. And will Norris find a way through on Felix now then as they approach the final corner, and onto the pit straight we will go, and down the straight. And what's the gap between Rosenqvist and Russell and Norris? Sorry, this time around, getting confused with the one Brit. 20 laps remaining then in this feature race as we head down towards turn 1, and the gap between them, let's have a look, is now 1.6 seconds. So that's what it currently looks like at this stage between the pair. Then 1.6 is the gap between Norris and Rosenqvist. Looks like Rosenqvist maybe starting to get away now a bit now from Norris as he tries to pursue Lynn for that final podium place if he can. As here is Gasly continuing to lead the race and in front of the moment, as he uses quite a bit of curb on the outside before approaching the Melbourne Hairpin. So in towards the right hander we will go, and there's the tyre smoke from a little earlier on lap 1 where all the carnage happened. Along with the one at the chicane, as now Gasly approaches the final corner, and soon he may be coming up to traffic in the form of Sean Ghiotto. And so now Gasly on lap 28 of 46 now then in this race. We now have, including this lap, 19 laps remaining, as now Gasly continues to pull away out in front at this stage. He's got an 8.6 second lead between himself and George Russell now then, as Gasly looks to try and get his first victory in an Ecademy car and his first win since season 2 when he was part of Willows Grand Prix. I think his last win came at I think it was Spa or Budapest. It was one of the two, I think, or even Monza. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but it was either Budapest or Spa where he took his last win. And Gasly now looking to get another victory if he can, as he heads down the back straight towards the chicane. And a lot of people probably feeling he should be in the top class by now. And whether he will be after this season, though, it remains to be seen, as Gasly flicks the car through into the chicane there then, as he uses quite a bit of curb on the outside towards the Melbourne Hairpin. So now then up towards the right hander now then goes Pierre Gasly, as he will now approach the final corner. And let's see what he'll be able to do then, and let's have a look and see if he's continuing to pull away from Russell. Russell now then approaching the final corner. I'll have a look in a bit what the gap is like anyway between the pair. Then through the final corner and onto the pit straight we'll go, and the gap between Russell and Gasly now then, as they head down towards turn 1, is now, let's have a look, it is 8.7 seconds. So Gasly continuing to pull away by another 10th that time around. Is Rosenqvist starting to get onto Lynn? We'll see what the gap is like this time around, and then compare that to the next lap just to have a look as they go up towards turn 1. And the gap, let's have a look, through towards turn 1 is now 4.5 seconds. So we'll see if he's able to gain, as Lando is now 2.5 seconds back, so he's lost 9/10 for the last time we checked on that gap. So that's that at the moment. As meantime, not really much going on towards the back of the field. Palmer now starting to close in now on Yuri Vips's PCA racing car after what has been so far a disastrous race for Jolyon, as he just goes out of the Melbourne hairpin now then. And Gasly, as mentioned, coming up to that bit of traffic and soon could be lapping him very soon in this race, as he now just flicks the car in through the second to last corner as he continues to lead the way at this stage. As meantime, if anybody has just tuned in, we've just passed the mandatory pit stop, and this is what the leaderboard looks like now. Then it's Gasly who leads, Russell in second, Lynn in third, Rosenqvist in fourth, then it is Norris fifth, Ericsson in sixth, Stroll in seventh, with Sirotkin eighth, Evans in ninth, Ghiotto 10th, with Euro 11th, Nato in 12th, Schumacher 13th, Fenestraz 14th, Razia 15th, Yuichi 16th, Vip 17th, Palmer in 18th, and Galile in 19th. We've had 3 retirements, and they have been Nyck de Vries, Dan Ticktum, and Nobuharu Matsushita. They have been the retirements so far in this race, and we're now on lap 30 of 46 in this race. 17 laps to go for race leader Pierre Gasly, and he's still got quite a bit to go left before the end of the race. So now Gasly will approach the right-hander now, the double right-hander at Coppice, as he will now approach the chicane on the track. And so as he'll go up towards that chicane now then, in towards the corner now then we go. And so that's that really, as they go up towards the hairpin. And so now through the right-hander we will go. Gasly continuing to lead the race at the moment, and could continue to pull a bit of a gap. He'll have 16 laps to go once he crosses the line, because he's about to start lap 31 of 46 here at Donington. And meantime, as out goes Lance Stroll. Stroll's out of the race with a water leak. Stroll's race is done with, and well, that's that. As the battle now going on for 8th between Evans and Ghiotto there. Evans shutting the door, and well, Stroll out of the race with a water leak, and we're down to 18 runners. Meantime now, Ghiotto trying to make it a double points finish and try and get onto the front row. Maybe get even pole as he goes down the inside on Mitch Evans. Will Ghiotto get the move done on Mitch Evans into the chicane? And he can. And no, there was contact there between the pair of them. But luckily, I think Ghiotto was able to get in front before the contact happened. Luckily, none of them got shoved off. And now Euro, fancying his chances there, will quickly have a look at that contact before we see if Euro makes the move on his teammate for 9th. Let's have a look then. We'll have a look at it from Evans' perspective. So Ghiotto finds a space down the inside, outbreaks him in towards the chicane. Confirmation that Stroll's out of the race with a water leak. We're down to 18 runners. And well, lots of contact there. Ghiotto's lucky he didn't shove him off there, but because otherwise that would have been probably a punishment from Ghiotto's part. But now, Euro finds himself all over the backside of Mitch Evans out his head down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Down the inside goes Lucas Euro, and he gets the move done. So close to contact with Ghiotto's back end there, but Euro gets the move done. He's up into 9th place. Now trying to see if he can grab the points off Luca Ghiotto in this race. So far, if it remains at the moment for the sprint race, the EMRs will be looking out the front row tomorrow. So that's that really now. Then it's head down the pit straight, but Euro trying to spoil that if they can, as he's now trying to get on terms with Luca Ghiotto for P number 8 in this race. As now we've got a freeway scrap developing. Nato even starting to close up now onto that battle himself. As now we go down towards the crane of curves now then, as they will approach the left-hander, and now up towards the old hairpin we will go, and it looks like maybe now Ghiotto started to pull a gap, so maybe Euro might not have a chance at attacking the young Italian for that final points place at the moment. So at the moment, in terms of the sprint race, as we're now on, we'll soon be starting lap 32 of 46 very soon. There is Stroll's car from the side for the water leak. The sprint race grid will currently look like this. It'll be Ghiotto on pole, with Sirotkin in second, Ericsson third, Norris fourth, Rosenqvist fifth, and then it'll be Lynn sixth, Russell seventh, and then Gasly in 8th position. What's the gap between the top two now? Then as I go through turn 1, 9.5 seconds. Gasly's just flying out in front, and Russell, the championship leader, just hasn't got a response to him at this stage. As they go down through the crane of curves now then, for the 32nd time today in the race, as they now head up the hill towards McLean's. And we're 5 minutes away now then from the 3 o'clock mark, 35 minutes away from GP3. They should finish before then, hopefully, because it is quite a short track. And maybe we'll get up to lap 37 before it reaches 3 o'clock. And I think we should be able to finish at around about 10 past with this race. So, but we'll wait and see on that as Russell now then approaches the chicane. And so now into the chicane then he will go, flicking the car in and using quite a bit of curb on the outside before approaching the Melbourne hairpin. And so that's out of the moment. Rosenqvist trying to close in onto Lynn if he can, but at the moment Lynn's just got enough of a gap between him and Rosenqvist at the moment. Rosenqvist hasn't got a response at this stage. Meantime, the battle for 8th has calmed down a bit. You're still keeping up with Ghiotto at this stage, but still not in a position where he might fancy an attack on him for that place as they go through the double right-hander at Coppice, as they will now approach the chicane. So that will be that, as now Gasly now then flicking the car through the old hairpin before going up the hill towards the left and right-hander at McLean's. And so now flicking it in now then we will go as Gasly using quite a bit of curb on the outside before approaching Coppice. And so now then he's still continuing to lead, and still coming up to that bit of traffic in front in the form of Ghiotto and Palmer. And so it just shows how much of a disaster both Ghiotto and Palmer's race has been. 14 laps remaining for Pierre Gasly in the Ecademy car as he just flicks through the chicane and using quite a bit of curb on the outside before approaching the Melbourne hairpin, as he continues to lead the way out in front at this stage. As meantime Rosenqvist currently in 4th place, still struggling to get up to the backside of Alex Lynn at the moment in this race. As now meantime Sirotkin currently in 7th place, and with quite a big gap now between himself and Luca Ghiotto, who's currently in 8th place at the moment. And as mentioned, at the moment, if it stays like this, the EMRs will lock out the front row tomorrow for the sprint race, and hopefully have their best chance of getting their first victory of the season. And as mentioned, I touched upon it yesterday, if EMR want a chance of a 3rd successive team's title, they really need to get their foot down and start improving, because otherwise if they don't, they'll lose the they will be unable to defend their team's title crown. So both Sirotkin and Ghiotto have got to really get their foot down if they want to feed themselves into this championship. But at the moment, so far, things haven't clicked into place for both Sirotkin and Ghiotto at this at the moment. As Gasly now then will approach the double right-hander at Coppice, as he just flicks the car in, and now using quite a bit of curb on the outside now then before approaching the chicane. As we have 13 laps remaining now then in this feature race, as we will now approach the chicane. And Gasly now then flicking the car in. And as mentioned, Gasly will have to deal with some traffic at this stage. Any battles happening down the field at the moment? Well, it looks like Palmer is now starting to drop back a bit from Yuri Vips in front, as Vips has now pulled a bit of a gap on him as a result. And so Gasly now then, here he is going through the final corner, and he will now be on lap number 35 of 46 here at Donington Park. 12 laps remaining then for the race leader, and we're 1 minute away now from the 3 o'clock mark. Through turn 1 then goes Pierre, and using quite a bit of curb there on the outside, going down the hill through the crane of curves. And now he will just go through the left-hander, and now through the left-hander he will go before going up towards McLean's. And Gasly now then still leading the race at this stage as he flicks the car in, as he uses quite a bit of curb on the outside before going up towards Coppice. And so now Gasly now then just getting the car in before approaching the chicane now then on the track. And so Gasly trying is trying to keep his calm at the moment. He's got quite a very big lead in front of championship leader George Russell, who, as you can see, just looking at him at the moment, of course, Russell looking quite lonely down this back straight, and looks like that the Brit will have to contend for second place now then, as he just flicked through the chicane. We're now half an hour away exactly from race 1 of GP3, and so that's that really. Is now Russell flicking it in through the right-hander, as now he will approach the final corner, and it will take him onto the pit straight. Through the final corner now then he will go, and I'll have a quick look and see what the gap is like between the pair of them. 11 laps remaining now then for Pierre Gasly, on lap 36 and 46 here at Donington in this feature race. So through towards turn 1, it's a 10.2 second gap between Gasly and Russell at this stage of the race. And is Russell closing right in onto Lynn now then? He's got 11 laps in which to try and get his foot down and get the move done, as they now go through in towards turn 1. And so coming out of turn 1, we will go heading down the hill towards the crane of curves. 2.3 seconds now then is the gap between Lynn and Rosenqvist now then, as they'll now head down towards the old hairpin, and Rosenqvist still pushing as hard as he can to get hold of Lynn by the end of the race, as he tries to get onto the podium if he can, as he just flicks through McLaren's now there. And I wonder if there'll be words between the two Red Bull Academy drivers over that piece of contact, and because I don't think team boss Robert Hunter will be very happy about that as a result, with both of their drivers getting involved in some contact on the first lap down at the Fogarty S's. So that's that really, as Rosenqvist now then coming up to that specific corner now, the Fogarty S's, this chicane is called. So now through he will go, clipping the curbs now then, a quite heavy curbing, as now he will approach the Melbourne hairpin, getting quite close now to the backside of Alex Lynn in this race before approaching the Melbourne hairpin. And then now heading out of the corner towards the final corner we will go. Will Rosenqvist try and get the move done on Alex Lynn if he can, as they all approach the final corner within these remaining laps that are left in this race, heading down the pit straight now then, and the gap between Lynn and Rosenqvist, as we now have 10 laps remaining, is now, let's quickly have a look, heading down towards turn 1. The gap is going out of turn 1. Let's have a look. 2.2 seconds. That's what the gap currently looks like at this stage. So I think Rosenqvist took a little bit off him there then, but I don't think too much at this stage. Probably just a few tenths or so on Lynn there, as they will now go up towards McLaren's. Rosenqvist not giving up on him at the moment, as he looks to try and battle him out for that final podium place at this stage. And Rosenqvist again probably kicking himself for the third race in a row. He has not been able to convert a feature race pole position into a feature race win, and he's still yet to get a victory this season in IFMC GP2. Whether that could happen tomorrow, we'll wait and see on that. But Rosenqvist probably a little bit frustrated in the cockpit there then, as he will now approach the chicane, as he flicks in through the corner. Heading up towards the second to last corner we will go now then, and we'll have a look and quickly see what the gap is like. It looks like Rosenqvist is trying to break that a little bit later than what Alex Lynn is at the moment, as they come out of the second to last corner using a tad bit curb on the outside. And let's have a look then. So round the final corner and onto the pit straight we will go, and let's see what the gap is like between Lynn and Rosenqvist now then, as they'll now approach the first corner on the track up towards turn 1. And the gap, let's have a look, as they go down the hill, 2.2 seconds. That's what the gap looks like. So the gap has remained the same, so both lapping around about the same place. Rosenqvist hasn't got a response to him at the moment at this stage, and he goes wide. Rosenqvist has gone right onto the grass, but luckily able to keep it going there. And well, Rosenqvist just pushing that tad bit too hard, and now Lynn will have quite a comfortable gap at the moment. It brings Norris in just that tad bit closer now then. So a little bit of a rookie error there from Felix Rosenquist, just pushing that tad bit too hard. It did look like slightly coming out of the crane of curves there, he was looking like he was going a tad bit wide towards the grass there, and it looked like he was just unable to correct it before going into the old hairpin, and as a result he goes off wide onto the grass. He's lucky that he hasn't spun there. It just bounced him up, and he was just bouncing off the grass and able to keep it going. But now that's possibly definitely cost him any chance of getting that final podium place off Alex Lynn in the Macamo car, and it looks like he may have to fend off from Lando Norris and settle for 4th place at this stage as they go through the Melbourne hairpin. As meantime, we have 8 laps remaining for Pierre Gasly. He's now coming up towards Sean Ghiotto to try and lap him at this stage now then, as he just goes up through McLaren's. So Gasly coming up to some traffic. This might hold him up a bit, but luckily for him, he's got an enormous gap between himself and George Russell. He just needs to keep his calm, and he will take his first victory of since season 2 if it remains like this now then, as he uses quite a bit of curb on the outside before approaching the chicane. And Gasly currently leading this race at this stage now then, as they will now approach the quick left-right chicane on the track, and using quite a lot of curb there out of the corner before approaching the second to last corner, which is the Melbourne hairpin. He's not close enough to put a lap on Ghiotto at this stage, so through he will go now then, as Gasly continuing to lead out in front at this stage. And Rosenqvist probably kicking himself in the cockpit now that he's probably lost any chance of getting a podium off Alex Lynn. And Lynn looking quite comfortable in third to take Macamo's first podium since last season. I can't remember where it was, but his first podium in a Macamo car, and that's got to be something. I think the first podium for the team being known as Panasonic Macamo Motorsport, so I guess that is a couple of firsts there for the team, I suppose. And after what has been possibly a tricky start to the season for them in turn. So that's that, as Lynn now goes out of the final corner towards the pit straight. So he now has 7 laps remaining on his end before he approaches turn 1 on the track. As he goes out of turn 1 now. Then here's Pierre Gasly all over the backside of Ghiotto, and he looks to now put a lap on him if he can, as we ride on board with the Frenchman. He's got 3 lots of traffic in front in the form of Ghiotto, Palmer and Vips in front. But Gasly's just got to lap as he gets into the slipstream now then of Sean Ghiotto. And Ghiotto looking like he's going to let him go at the chicane there, pulling to the left to let him go, which he does so with ease. So that's that, easy pickings there for Pierre Gasly as he just goes through the chicane there, hopping over the curbs, as he will now approach the Melbourne hairpin to try and put a lap on Jolyon Palmer if he can. And so that's that. Here's George Russell now then, as he goes up towards the Melbourne hairpin, and he'll know in his mind he won't be too disappointed with not winning this race, because he knows at least he'll be pulling away a bit in the Drivers' Championship compared to his rivals Norris and Rosenqvist. So that's a plus for him, I suppose, as he just goes around the final corner. Russell now then heading down the pit straight now then towards turn 1 on the track. And Russell now then currently lying in second place at this stage as he just gets out of the corner. And here is Alex Lynn in the Macamo, and that's that, really looking good for a podium. I don't know if Rosenqvist is closing back in a bit now. Then we'll have a look at the gap as we have 6 laps remaining in this feature race. Lap 41 of 46 we're now on as we go through turn 1 and heading out the corner. 3.9 seconds is the gap, 2.9 between himself and Lando Norris behind him at the moment, as he just heads down through the Carina curves and now through towards the left-hander we will go, heading up the hill towards McLaren's. And it looks like 4th place Rosenqvist is going to have to settle for in this race, and could have been more, but because of that mistake it wasn't going to be for the Swedish driver. And for the 3rd race in a row, feature race in a row, he hasn't been able to convert that pole position into a victory yet. So that's that really as far as he's concerned. As meantime, Ghiotto's now got a bit of a gap between himself and Lucas Jura. Evans unable to keep up with teammate Jura at this stage, and so Ghiotto looking good to take pole position for the sprint race tomorrow. So that's that really. I think that'll be the second race in a row he'll take pole for the sprint race. I could be wrong, but I think that's going to be the case. Mick Schumacher, again, not really able to get up to speed in this race. Clearly this track not suiting to the teenage German's driving style. And here we're looking to try and gain many places if he can in the sprint race tomorrow from 12th place. It appears it doesn't look like he's going to be gaining any more places. Meantime, Santiago Iriscia starting to close in on the man that he made contact with on lap 1, that being Louis Razia, as they now head up towards turn 1 in towards the Fog TSs now. Then they will go, and so through he will go, and there is Iriscia trying to get onto him there. Then there's now Gasly trying to see if he can lap Palmer. He seems to be struggling at the moment. It probably would have made Russell close in a bit onto the Frenchman, but at this stage it doesn't look like Russell's going to get the victory off Pierre Gasly as they now approach the Melbourne hairpin, using a tad bit curb there on the right hand side before approaching the final corner. And Gasly looking to try and put a lap on Palmer if he can, probably down the pit straight if he can do, as they head down the pit straight. As Gasly crossed the line to start lap 43 of 46, 4 laps remaining for the Frenchman, as he will now approach turn 1. And so now heading out of turn 1 we will go, heading down through the crane of curves, and so now through towards the left hander we will go, and so now approaching the old hairpin, and using a little bit of curb before going up the hill towards the towards McLean's now then, and it looks like he might actually put a lap on him down in towards Coppice Corner perhaps. So probably easy pickings there for Gasly, which he's going to do so because he flicks now to the inside of Palmer, and he gets the move done there nice and simply. And so that's that at the present moment. Ghiotto looking quite comfortable in 8th place, and it looks like EMR's going to look out the front row for tomorrow's sprint race if it remains like this, of course. And so that's that really, as Gasly now puts the lap on Jolyon Palmer, and he'll be looking to see if he can pull a lap on Vips before the end of the race, as he just goes through the second to last corner. Heading up towards the final corner then will go Pierre Gasly, and as he continues to lead the way at this stage. And now heading down the pit straight towards turn 1 on the track, and Gasly now then through towards turn 1 he will go, and Gasly now then has 3 laps to go before he can take his first victory of season 2. We're now on lap 44-46, 3 laps remaining for the race leader. And now, as you can see, we now look at Joel Eriksson, and so now as you can see, Eriksson currently up in 6th place at the moment. He's had a very good race, it must be said, in the Lopez Racing development car, and with that he's looking good to get what will be 6th place in the end for the Swede, as he will now approach the first corner on the track. And Eriksson looking good to pick up 6th place in this race now then, as he uses a tad bit of curb on the outside before coming down towards the crane of curves, and now through towards the old hairpin he will go. And Eriksson running a very good race, and I think team boss Franco Lopez will be very happy with this one, and to get the team's first points of the season. It'll put a smile on his face, that is for sure. And he will start 3rd tomorrow at this rate for the sprint race, so he could have a chance to try and jump the EMRs tomorrow if he has a chance, just like Gasly did today from the second row, because Gasly started in 3rd and managed to get the jump on both Red Bull Academies at the start. So it's all possible around here at Donington. Who knows really? Maybe we could even see that in GP3 with Hasberg in 3rd place, but we'll wait and see. As now up towards the second to last corner then will go Joel Eriksson, as we will now approach the second to last corner. And so now up towards the final corner then goes Joel Eriksson, as he continues to be in 6th place at this stage. Meantime, where is Gasly? Gasly is over here. He's getting up close now to the backside of Vips, looking to try and lap him if he can. Again, apologies for the drop of frames at this point. I do apologise for that. Gasly's on his penultimate lap of the race. He'll soon be starting his final lap once he crosses the line, as he will now approach the chicane. And so we ride on board with the Frenchman, heading in towards the Fogarty S's now then, using a lot of curb through into those corners. So he will now approach the second to last corner. If we do run into a little bit of overtime with GP3, there will be like a few minute delay or so I can just get things set up. So don't be alarmed if that is the case, because it's now 3:15 now and this race hasn't yet finished. But we are coming around the final corner and Pierre Gasly is about to start his final lap here at Donington. It has been a very good race for him as far as he's concerned. He started in 3rd place, managed to get the jump on the Red Bull Academies at the start, and hasn't put a foot wrong since the start. And he has just been in a class of his own, and it looks like he will get redemption after being robbed of a victory in Spain back last weekend in the feature race. And if he just keeps this up, he's looking good to take victory here in the feature race at Donington, taking his first victory in the Academy and his first victory since Season 2 after a winless Season 3. And Gasly looks to be back in his prime from Season 2 and looks to put himself in the championship fight as a result, as he now is coming up to put a lap on Yuri Vips at Coppice Corner now then, which he does very cleanly there. Vips letting him go pretty easy now then. So down the back straight now then for the final time today for the GP2 guys, as he will now come up towards the quick Fogarty S's for the final time. And Gasly now then flicking the car in through the left and right hander he will go. And now coming up towards the second to last corner will go Pierre Gasly. And he is nearly home, going around the Melbourne hairpin for the final time today, heading down this little run before approaching the final corner. Pierre has done a fantastic job. Ecademy back on the top step of the podium in GP2. Will be their first win since the sprint race in Hungary. Round the final corner he goes, and it is going to be Pierre Gasly who wins the feature race here at Donington. Congratulations to him and the Academy team. Academy back on the top step of the podium, and Gasly takes his first victory since Season 2. A fully deserved win for the Frenchman. Russell crosses the line in second. A brilliant result from the championship leader. He increases his lead at the top. Rosenquist closing in now on Lynn, but it is not going to be enough. It is going to be Alex Lynn who's going to pick up the final podium in 3rd place. A brilliant result from the Brit in the Macamo car. And his first podium in the Macamo. Lynn is going to cross the line in 3rd place. Rosenquist for the 3rd race in a row, unable to transfer his pole to a win, cross the line in 4th. Norris now then is going to cross the line in 5th, and it's going to be Ericsson who's going to cross the line in 6th place, picking up his and Lopez Racing Development's first points finish in IFMC GP2. A brilliant result for him there. Then 6th place goes to Joel Eriksson. 7th will go to Sergey Sirotkin in the EMR. And it is going to be Luca Ghiotto who's going to pick up the final point in 8th position. So the EMRs will lock out the front row for the sprint race tomorrow, as he just comes around the final corner. Ghiotto crosses the line in 8th. It's going to be Yora who crosses the line in 9th. Evans will cross the line in 10th position. It's going to be Nato who will finish in 11th. Schumacher is going to cross the line in 12th in the Academy car in the end there. Then Fenestraz is going to cross the line in 13th. Razia will finish in 14th position. Eurisia will cross the line 15th in the Macamo car, and that will be that then. So we wait for Eurisia to cross the line, which he does, and there you have it then. In the end, Pierre Gasly is the winner here at Donington. He takes his first victory since Season 2, and a fully deserved victory for the Frenchman indeed. So there you have it then, guys. Then after all of that, here is the results of the feature race here at Donington Park. Pierre Gasly won the race with George Russell in 2nd. Alex Lynn finished in 3rd with Felix Rosenquist in 4th. Lando Norris 5th. Joel Eriksson in 6th with Sergey Sirotkin 7th. Luca Ghiotto in 8th. Lucas Yora finished in 9th with Mitch Evans in 10th. And then it was Norman Nato 11th, Mick Schumacher 12th, Sasha Fenestraz 13th, Louis Razia 14th, and if we scroll down the rest of the field, it is Santiago Eurisia 15th, Yuri Vips in 16th, and then it was Jolyon Palmer in 17th, with Sean Gallal, the last of the finishes, in 18th. And the 4 retirements were Lance Stroll, Nyck de Vries, Dan Ticktum, and Nobuharu Matsushita. They were the 4 retirements of the race. Let's see who set the fastest lap, who's going away with the bonus point. And it was Pierre Gasly with a 1 minute 18.961. So along with the 10 points for the victory, he also gets the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race, making it 11 points. For today's race for Pierre Gasly. A fully dominant result for the Frenchman and a fully deserved one as well. But there you have it then, guys. That has been it for the feature race here at Donington Park. The GP2 will be back tomorrow at 2 PM BST, the same time for the sprint race. But stick around now, guys, because coming up next is race 1 for IFMC GP3, which will see Joseph Newgarden on pole position ahead of Robert Kubica and Ferdinand Hasberg. There might be a slight delay due to how long this race has gone on for, so don't be surprised if that happens. The podium for IFMC GP2 is coming away just after this. But until then, guys, I've been JWF1. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in hopefully around 10 minutes time for race 1 of IFMC GP3. But until then, take care and enjoy the GP2 podium. See you in 10 minutes time for GP3. Enjoy the GP2 podium.